Oh, wow, that's cool. So I figured out the best way to do this was just to record the screen. I had a problem editing my video. Oh, I love that song. Put a lid on it. Anyway, so I had a really good video, and I had problems editing it because of the sound. So I'm just gonna...
You have sports that are with drugs, and you have sports without. That way there's a choice between the two. And someone's going to make a cartoon about that, and it's going to be really funny. Because it's going to, emphasize my point. It's like, well, I don't want to watch natural sports. That's so boring. And then they turn the channel, and there's like some, half-humanoid thing that's been bred its whole life just to do one sport.
That's so true.
That's closer to the truth than you know.
I'm commenting on my own video.
Anyway, I am in a lot of pain all the time. So I'm always looking for ways to just try to feel normal.
What?
I'm not looking for a high. I don't want to get blasted. I don't want to sit there and drool like a moron. Can't think. Those types of experiences are for recreation. Recreational use only. And everyone should have that. That should be a right, but it's not in this country. If you want to know something that's crazy, if you take and you look at laws, like especially drug laws, and you find the countries that have the strictest drug laws, those are the ones that are exporting drugs. Those are the ones that have, usually the military is involved in transporting and distributing narcotics and drugs in other countries.
That's why they have their own legal system.
So they would call that clandestine operations. And they hide it from the public. So, the question, could I be trusted? But it's common sense. Everybody knows what's going on. Our country has the strictest drug laws out of any other country in the entire world, and except, well, I wouldn't say as far as sentencing goes, but as far as control goes. I mean, there's some kind of weird vigilante lobbying effort, and the money that is inside of the politics and the big spending and inside of the minds of the people that are controlling the country, that they want to control everything, even aspirin, like down to having nothing in the stores.
And you don't believe me? They really are. They're trying to get every type of painkiller, even non-steroidal anti-inflammatory painkillers, out off the shelves. And it's the truth, whether you want to believe it or not.
And really, that's pretty much, in the last 20 years, that is the way it's gotten in this country, is we went from being able to buy stuff over the counter for ailments and remedies, so we could self-medicate ourselves, which is completely natural, and is part of humanity. It's called an entheogenic relationship.
An entheogenic relationship. This is why I am dubbed over it, is because I was tapping my leg, and it was really annoying.
And it's been with us since the very beginning,
Stop
and it is part
that.
of nature. It grows out of the ground, for God's sake.
It does grow out of the ground. So therefore, God must have given it to us. So therefore, God must have a real good sense of humor. Now let's make guns and control it.
So, why the control? It's always been about money, because there are certain societies that control feeling good, and America is one of those that puts a price tag on feeling good, and they don't want you to feel good. They don't care if they're the ones who caused you to feel bad, if their vaccinations are what destroyed
or their over-the-counter medication,
the neurons in your brain, and you can't even feel anymore, or you feel pain all the time. They don't care about that. They don't have an issue with that, because it's just a market for them. So destroying people's lives and kidneys and hearts and
It's big business, man.
causing genetic mutations to down their
That's kind of the World Health Organization right there.
family lines, destroying families, all that stuff is just part of business for this country. But anytime you get into curing or healing or helping people, anytime you get into those areas, it's all storm the doors, throw grenades, kick down the doors, and some asshole who's all steroided up says, "Oh, someone's got to do it. It's got to be a job." You know what I mean? And basically they're mercs. That's all they are, is just mercs. They're mercs that are operating inside of
Occupational forces operating under incorporation. I was totally right about that.
the country based on some false government flag, and I'm not talking about military operation, I'm talking about local facilities, people that operate under the state banner or the federal banner or the national banner, all those different organizations.
That's, the sunscreen thing that's going on right now in modern current events is what they call it.
They're all funded by different sources that are controlled by foreign nationals, and they operate in different ways. And when you understand how they operate and their methodologies, you'll understand that why in this country we have gone from having
I messed up here. I didn't mean to say gone from, because we've actually went to. So I was thinking backwards chronologically.
no ability to relieve our own pain. 40 years ago, oh hell, we can go even back 100 years ago, we had every option under the sun. And it was all free. It was all free trade. It was just like that I showed you. Non-barcoded. It was a free market. You could buy what you wanted, and the liabilities or whatever were chased after by the lawyers, because it was the heyday of legality. That was before legality became corrupt. Before it became basically the poster child of what
Corruption, basically. It's the poster child of corruption. I mean, my God, have you ever read the tort? The tort that says that no law shall ever be made that could ever be wrong, even if it is wrong. That was the biggest laugh I've ever had in my life when I read that tort.
selling out means. Now it's a different world. Now the weird part is what has happened because of all these laws and rules and regulations is the only drugs that are actually allowed to be on the market are drugs that will harm you.
It's absolutely true.
Now I know this sounds strange, but it's true. If you do the research and you look,
because the marketing side it's all the same incorporation, but you have a left branch and you have a right branch, and both of them are separate entities, and they both have separate missions. So you have your legal side of your drug operation, and then you have your manufacturing side of your drug operation. They're both separate entities that fight against each other. That's what I didn't explain in this video.
pick this up, you're going to understand it, that they all have side effects, and they're all marketed because the lawyers, or the legal branch side of it is.
They can't market anything that is natural and has no side effects. That's basically the truth of it.
Waiting for enough evidence so then they can try to sue the drug manufacturer. And it's a big game now. It's like a baseball game and how it's played. And really, it's war. It's just unconventional warfare. And I know I've said that word a lot, but it is. And when you're unconventional warfare, you want to look at who the players are, who's making the decisions, and why. What is the financial incentive? What is the financial incentive for doing it?
United States Senate, I'm looking right at you. You know, I took a video. I took a picture. I took a picture, right? And this just proves that these digital communication channels are all monitored. They're all watched, even though I supposedly have no views whatsoever. They're all monitored. They're all watched. We live in a society that is basically a spy society. They're all spies. And not in a good way either. I mean, they'll take your shit. They'll steal from your family. They'll block you in court from patenting something that you figured out. It's really horrible, horrible, horrendous shit that they do.
Okay, the reason why we have this supposed war on drugs in this country, which it means war on basically, antihistamines and aspirin in your cabinet. It's pretty much going to be the last thing.
Yeah, this is like the last two things. Anti-diarrhea medication and upset stomach. This is probably like the last four things it's going to go. Human comfort is what they call it.
Things to go. They'll give like bamboo sticks so you can hit yourself in the head. Oh. You have pain? You have broken spine? You have multiple injuries? You have stroke? Hit yourself in head. Then the pain of hitting yourself in head.
This is my horrible foreign voice impersonation because I don't have very many voices I can do.
Will be more than pain you feel. Well, in my case, it's not. Because no matter how hard I hit myself in the head, it's still, the pain is worse inside than it is on the outside. So how do you change that? How do you change the perception of that in this country? The vilification of, I know, people know it's bullshit. I mean, if someone goes to a bar and they
engage in recreational drug use, which is what alcohol is.
They enjoy their time, because that's what it's about. Is you have this work time, you work, and then you have pleasure time because you work.
And why are you working in a slave society for money to get a home, to pay a mortgage for 30 years? Is that it? Is that what it's just so you can have a place to die? Basically? So
it's like it's supposed to go hand in hand, but
isn't it about the pleasure that you feel in the moment, what you do, but without having something, basically taking poison, killing you, or having some horrible consequences? Liability. It's liability.
They've completely destroyed the work ethic, and to this point now where even though that we have stuff that is not controlled substances, they refuse to let them be sold in stores.
So, like, you can be arrested for having something in your car if you're just pulled over for a traffic stop, even if the is not a controlled substance. And you can spend 30 days in jail. You can have your car impounded. You can have your whole life turned upside down. You can lose your job because, you don't show up for 30 days. You're going to be basically, you're going to be fired. Because, it's a right to work state, which means the opposite, which is you have the right to be fired because we have massive amounts of immigrant labor to replace you.
So, I don't really get that. How can you arrest someone or shoot them or handcuff them or beat someone to death because they have a pill bottle or a bottle of pills in their car, and you suspect, if I go down this route, you probably already know all the arguments about it, or it's horrible though. When you look at the country, what it's doing externally to all the nations around, and then internally what's going on, and then you'll understand why they have such severe drug policies. Usually, if you find a country where they're executing people for drugs, it's because they're manufacturing them. Their military is manufacturing the drugs.
Absolutely.
They are the ones guarding the poppy fields. They're the ones guarding the supply lines. Their military is. And the civilian side of the government never talks about it on air.
Never. It's because it's controlled, and they'll get sued and they'll get shut down.
And no one ever talks about it. It's just completely hidden from public opinion and public view. So why do we have this huge push in the country to get people? Because it's about purity, first of all.
When I say about purity, it's the simple fact that when grandma breaks her hip and she gets on diamorphine at the hospital because she's in a severe amount of pain, when they release her, she doesn't go to a bar and buy heroin from a junkie. She doesn't become a junkie. It's about the purity. Do you understand? Come on. Understand. The impurity in it kills brain cells, and which causes addiction. What happens is that your other surrounding cells in the periphery brain system, and I do understand about the nervous system. I know, I've researched it because I had to. Why do you think? I'm in a society that all they want is just to get my fucking paycheck and not give me a goddamn thing in return for it. So what happens is is that the neurons die in your brain, and the surrounding neurons remember that it's there. So you're always what they call chasing the high. The reason why you're chasing the high is because those cells died. Most people do not understand this. They do not understand the actual physical connection to the way the body works. They think it's a behavioral condition, which our society has pushed on the public for too long. It's stuck in our Senate, too. It's stuck in them, and I just want to beat the shit out of it. I just want to have a fist fight with those fuckers for the laws that they've made. And I want to put some, I'm on the bench, but I want to get up and put some gloves on because of that. And it makes me so angry that these people are all sellouts.
There's here's the example that kills the argument completely. It's about the rat thing, right? If you gave a rat drugs, if you gave it water and then you gave it drugs, it always killed itself. But
it's the study that they used to justify that the entire Drug Enforcement Agency is justified based on this rat study. And what it is, basically, this rat, here's the thing, they didn't give you the full information. They only took a snippet out of it. And that's the lawyers for you, the devil's advocates. The rats died in the cage. So they said, if the public is given access to something that makes them feel good, they'll take it until they die. So they used that to actually fund the entire agency. Now, here's the problem with that, and you'll hear it.
If you gave a rat a larger cage, and you gave it toys to play with, and then you put the drugged, and then you put the water to it, the rat always goes to the water.
The drugged water versus the water, the drug versus the water. The rat always chose the water in the end. So they did a secondary study, which they never published. They didn't let the public know that the rat would choose the water in the end. They would choose a healthy lifestyle, even if it was given complete and unfettered access to a drug that made it feel absolutely wonderful. That totally blows their whole argument out of the water. And it's fact. It is scientific fact with controlled studies, and it is documented. It is right there for everyone to see.
Because it was the environment that made the difference of the addictive behavior. Do they ever tell you that in the public? No, they don't tell you that in the public. Because it's the truth. It's 100% true and you can't deny it. So, but they don't want that known. They don't want people to think that way because that's damaging to their cause and their funding. Because what is their fund?
Damaging to their funding.
What is their purpose? What is their unconventional warfare? It is to keep the illegal drug trade out of legal
domain, domicile.
What do they call that word? Liability. They don't want the illegal market to be liable for the damages it causes.
That's why there's two separate markets.
And liability is everything. It's from a teen kicking in a door at the wrong house and shooting everybody in the family, and
or people taking an unknown substance of an unknown amount and overdosing and dying from it, because the channels that they could have normally gotten it for recreational use are denied because of our entire military culture and our judicial culture and our legal culture.
There was no drugs on the premises. That's a liability. That's the same cause and effect as what it is. But if you understand where it originated from, it is because third world countries, their military governments used the drugs internally to control their population.
You know, all of the people that we put in the news as being baddies that we bomb and kill because they torture people, etc., etc., they have open drug cultures. If that's the way I can use it. How are you going to translate that? I would like to see that. But those are the people that we're fighting against. So obviously, if the military is fighting against people that have cultures like that, then we can't adopt their same culture, even if internally we know that it's true.
And the top brass already know this. So what do? They inform the people that are making the laws that we have to crack down on this, even though we know it's complete bullshit. You know, even though we go golfing on Sundays and we take whatever we want without fear of any reprisals in unmarked pill containers, we have to take the opposite stance of even though what we know is true, that is what I find is bullshit.
It's complete hypocrisy, and that's why I can't fucking stand it.
About everything, about markets, and everything should be an open market because it shines a light on the actual trade that's going on.
And the people doing it.
And and it makes it people open to liability.
Liability.
But then you have what happens when the court is corrupt and the laws are already corrupt. That's an issue.
That's the problem.
That's an issue.
That's the wave that flag.
That's where we're at today. So
right now.
basically, corruption got us to the point where the only thing you have in your cabinet.
And there shall be no law that's ever made, that's ever passed, that shall be wrong, even if it is wrong.
Now, it's basically stuff that will kill your liver. I mean, if you keep taking aspirins, it's going to make you have a heart attack, and it's going to kill your liver. Now, can I say that with 100% because I'm not certified by the government to say that? No.
No, because, I'm not a professional certified by the court. God damn, they're such fucking bullshit artists.
No. So it is my opinion to say that. But I have a right to say my opinion. Or do I? Are you going to shoot at me because I'm giving my opinion? Yeah, that's what they do in other countries. And it's a horrible game when it comes down to it.
Well, they do it in this country too, so I didn't really...
When you realize what's really going on. So, this long talk that we've had, 30 minutes of bullshit.
I always wanted to be a talk show host, I just, I never had the people that cared, and never had the funding, and never had the mic.
And my first green key. Lately I've been playing with my 12-year-old computer. Playing with the memory timings, trying to...
This is bullshit. Well, I was talking about electronics earlier, so...
It gathers more on the outside, it gets larger and larger and larger, and then it just creates a giant snowball rolling down a hill that no one can stop, and everyone has to get out of the way.
That's what law is, a snowball effect.
Like the old cartoons that they don't ever show anymore.
No one shall ever disagree with a law that's made, and it's complete bullshit, and there's only a few people on the bench that even realize it. But they're all influenced by their home, their family, and the money that they're receiving.
But yeah, as far as the drug issue goes, I was for legalization of everything. But the problem is that at the core of it you have...
That's because of liability, people. So don't argue with me on that. It's about holding the people that are peddling impure substances responsible. That's what it was for. Because of the damage that they've done to the families. The people who are addicted or the people who have brain cells that are fucking fried are going to need help. They're going to need help. And there's going to be funding for that somewhere. But in our society, as long as we keep this bullshit going, there is never going to be funding for those people. They're just going to be put aside, or they're going to be put out on the street, and then they're going to be going to the ER constantly, and the state is going to fund that, and then they're going to get kicked out of the ER, and then they're just going to end up in a dumpster somewhere. That is what reality is in this fucking state, in this fucking country right now.
The corruption is at the legal end. So that's where it is. So the ones that are writing the laws that are making everything inaccessible, and that law that says that anything that can make you feel good now becomes contraband, is the worst thing that they could have ever done for a society.
Worst thing that ever for our country. For a country that flies a flag that says that they believe in freedom, and they let their people fight for it and die for it and spill their blood for it.
And you want to know why they did it? It's because in the military, the enemies that they're fighting are the ones that are...
This part I couldn't formulate what I was going to say, but it's because the enemies that we are fighting actually have adopted, they've partially adopted this stance of the freedom of the flow of drugs, what they would call drugs. That's a Russian word, but I don't really like that, because it means I control feeling good for money, is what the word drug means. So I don't use the word.
but they're the ones that are shipping this stuff. So the drugs that come into our country are, number one, the drugs are from our own military.
So you have the drugs that come from our own second legal system, which is from our military system, that's coming into the country. And the vast majority of those are pure, and they don't kill people, and they're recreational. But it's hush-hush. No one ever talks about it. And yes, I've been on bases before. I know what goes on.
Operations. And at number two, they're from foreign clandestine operations from other countries.
Those are the ones that, this is the reason why the DEA was made, is to combat this.
The people that you see that go to jail for drug operations, they're the little mom and pop people. They're the idiots or the drug mules or the people that got caught up in human trafficking. They're the ones who, the super poor, they have nothing to do. Their lives are basically already spent before they're born. They're the ones who go to jail. They're the ones who are shot. They're the ones who are dragged. They're the ones who are run over.
Barcoded and serialized.
The ones who are given guns. They're the ones who do the wars. They're the ones who kill each other.
Give me a patch. Give me a badge.
Not the people at the top. Not the people who are immune to it. They know exactly what's going on, but it's never really discussed. It's never brought out in an open discussion at all. And it all has to do with this market over here has no liability. So all the damages it causes, everyone just has to live with it. And then this market over here has liability. So in this country, the market that we have liability in, it keeps shrinking. It goes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now to a point where it's become a game. It's become a legal game. So that we introduce drugs knowing that they're going to cause damage long term. None of these drugs will cause damage short term. But
it's a war that no one can win. And the price is worse than the cost. The price that we pay is worse than the cost that we pay if we didn't.
They cause it long term. So you're going to die from kidney failure from 10 years from now, or you're going to die from kidney failure 15 years from now. So as long as it's long term, they'll introduce it into the market, because then they'll know that the legal side of it will attack it and they'll make tons of money. It's an inflation and then a deflation and then an inflation and then deflation. It's sort of modeled after the way nature works when it's combating itself, when it's feeding off of itself. So what you have to do is you have to take the market itself and make it all one market.
One market. One.
You have to. Because what that does is it immediately finishes the war. It ends the war. The war's over with after that.
War done.
Because now the trade is all out in the open, and now the people who are doing the trading and offering the goods and the services are now liable for it.
They're now liable. That is the point of it. So I hope you understand my point of view. I hope you understand that now. So I'll get that out. Everyone knows this because it's common sense, but I just wanted to shed a little light on it. And I'm not a moron. I'm here to try to help people, including myself. Even though everything that I've ever said has never helped me, I've never gained anything from it. I would like to see my society change for the better, even though everyone thinks it's a lost cause. I just say that I'm tired of hypocrisy and bullshit. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. So, thank you. Thank you for watching.